Hi, thanks for clicking on this video link. The reason for this is to tell you the 5 most important things when you're letting your home. Stay tuned. Things you need to know if you're letting your home for the first time, or indeed if you're an established landlord and just want to recheck that you've got your ducks in a row. Lettings and management is all about attention to detail, so you need to get these things right. Number 1, tenancy agreements. Now, some people will just buy a tenancy agreement off the shelf, and quite often it won't have the necessary clauses to cover current legislation, let alone all the different deposit schemes and their rules, which again require another form, and that has to be filled in at the same time in order to comply with legislation and make sure that if you do need to serve a notice later, you're still covered. So make sure you either take advice from a good professional letting agent, preferably a member of ALA, like ourselves, or have a chat with us before you do anything there. Very, very important. Second, something you're probably already aware of, certainly if you're an existing landlord, gas safety certificate. You need a gas safety certificate, otherwise known as a CP12 in the trade, and this makes sure that your appliances are compliant and not giving off any noxious gases. And that's an annual requirement, and you'll need that before you rent. You'll also need your energy performance certificate, and you'll need to provide to your tenant a copy of the tenancy agreement, deposit certificate, EPC, gas safety, any electrical testing you've had done. On top of that, if your property is in the borough of Croydon, we now have landlord licensing. This is not just for HMOs. That's a misconception we've had from many. You do need to register your property now. Croydon Council, in their wisdom, have decided that we need a license. These licenses are for 5-year terms. You need to apply online. Again, we can help you through this, and the fee is an eye-watering £750. It is what it is, but you will need a landlord license, subject to large fines if you don't do that, so make sure you're on that one. Right to rent. This is another law that's come in this year in February 2016. You now have an obligation to make sure that your tenants have a right to be in the UK, either via visa or via their passport, but you do need to prove these things. Obviously, if you're with James Alexander, it's something we do for you anyway, as a matter of course, through our independent referencing service. But if you're doing it yourself, you need to be aware that you need to make sure these people have a legitimate entitlement to be working in the UK. Finally, last but not least, the single most important thing if you're renting your property is simply the quality of the tenant. Our negotiators, when they go out and show a property, have one thing in mind. The question I always ask them to ask themselves is, if this were your property, would you allow these tenants in this property? And if the answer is no, because you're uncomfortable with them, something seems wrong, then we move on and try and find somebody else, because our feeling is that the single most important thing from our experience of doing this for the last 20 years is if you get the tenants right, everything else is quite easy. But if you get the tenants wrong, then you can have nightmares in all sorts of other ways. Of course, we reference and check everything else, but it has to start with a good relationship between tenant and agent, or tenant and landlord. If you have a property in the local area of SW16, Streatham, Thornton Heath or Croydon, then do give us a call. Numbers popping up on the screen now. We'll come around and give you a valuation. No obligation attached to that. If you are with another managing agent and you don't feel they're doing a very good job and you need more advice, call us anytime. We're always delighted to talk about serving notice on other agents and taking over the portfolio for you, be it one property or several. We've been doing this for 22 years, unlike most of our competitors, so there aren't many situations that we won't have come across, and we can advise you appropriately. Hope this helps. Good luck with your rental.